Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in again. This episode is a continuation from the last. We will be exploring what it might look like to live a victorious life in Christ. Last time, I introduced the idea of focusing on the love of the Father and the blessing of the Father. In this episode, I will share my journey in discovering the Father's love. I was probably about 15 years old. My friends and I were listening to music as we drove back from Six Flags amusement park in Los Angeles. I was looking out the window when I heard the song, When God Ran. The words struck a deep chord in my heart. It said, then he ran to me, took me in his arms, held my head to his chest, said, my sons, come home again. As I listened, tears rolled down my cheeks. I was imagining God running to me. Can this be? Does God love me this much? It felt almost sacrilegious to imagine God running, and yet tears were flowing down. I longed for this kind of love. Fast forward about 10 years. I had just come back from a trip to India. I went to explore how I might serve God among the poorest of the poor, the slum communities of Delhi and Calcutta. I returned depressed. I saw so much pain, suffering, and hopelessness. I felt traumatized by the sight of children digging through mountains of trash, looking for anything valuable to eat or sell. I couldn't make sense of any of it as I felt overwhelmed by the darkness. Personally, I felt lost. Back home in my bedroom, I had hung the painting, Return of the Prodigal Son by Rembrandt. You can say that somewhere deep in my heart, that longing for the Father's embrace still lingered from the time I heard the song When God Ran. In the painting, you can see the son in his dirty, torn-up clothes, kneeling before his father. The father has his hands over the son's shoulders in a warm embrace, pressing his son's head to his chest. After coming back from India for a couple months, I just sat in front of that painting, at times staring at it for over an hour. Where is this Father's love? Where is this Father's love for those children in India? Where is this Father's love for me? After college, I committed myself to serving God. I served in a college campus ministry. I went to seminary. I devoted myself to gain knowledge of the Bible and theology. I tried to be a good Christian. In many people's eyes, I was a great Christian. Maybe I took some pride in that. Most of the time, I was fine with the way my life was going. But there were these moments, like the one I just shared, where I knew something was not right in my heart. I preached many times about the love of God, but hard life experiences just brought me back to stare longingly at that painting again. Where is this Father's love? In my mid-30s, I began to read books on revival history and biographies of prayer warriors like Andrew Murray and George Mueller. I became captivated by their lives. Their lives felt so different. It was as if they knew God personally. God was so real to them that they expected God to simply do as He promised in His Word. Not only did they know God, Father's love, they experienced it. Reading these biographies left a deep hunger in my heart. I desperately wanted what they had. I knew my heart needed to be revived, to be awakened. I hungered for more. That hunger plunged me into a journey. That first year I prayed and prayed. Whenever I had any free time, I found a private place to pray. Sometimes I prayed for hours at a time. I cried out to God, there's more. Your word promises it. These people's lives testify to it. Give me more of you. I spent that year just crying out to God. But that whole year, all I heard was silence. There was nothing in response, at least nothing I saw or I felt. Where was this Father's love? Often, I felt so tired of praying, but I knew I didn't want to go back. At the end of that long year, God finally began to reveal Himself. I remember sitting at a tea shop, journaling, praying, and reading the Word. All of a sudden, the Spirit of God stirred in my heart and I began to weep. I was filled with His love. He gripped my heart with such intensity I couldn't stop the tears. Interestingly though, the awareness of His love was not for me. It was an awareness of His love for people sitting in that cafe, people I didn't know. Another time, I remember riding my bike around town when suddenly the Spirit of God moved me to weep. I was overwhelmed by His love, by the Father's love for people I saw on the street walking around, again, people I didn't know. These kinds of experiences became more and more frequent. It was a supernatural awareness of His love for people. That was the beginning of rediscovering the Father's love. God began to open my heart and just fill me with deep experiences of His love. At first, it was His love not for me, but for others around me. As I reflect back on this journey, I think I know why He first showed me His love for others. Discovering the Father's love for me would require another journey. Like I said in the last episode, God would have to peel open the bandage I put over my heart. He would have to reveal the wounds I had kept buried and fears I had worked hard to repress. He would have to become my healer. But I will leave that for next time. Thank you for listening today. God bless.